welcome to Extra Holes 2022. And we start off our year with a great guest. Today we have a special guest, my friend Matt Griesser. Matt Griesser is an actor, comedian, who's probably known for his role in television commercials as Sign Boy for the FootJoy brand. For 8 PGA Tour seasons, Matt played FootJoy's mega fan and traveling standard bearer who loved all things FootJoy and any tour player that wore FootJoy shoes and gloves. He's appeared in TV and films such as Almost Famous and Mascots on Netflix, The King of Queens and Family Tree on HBO. For the last 10 years, you'd recognize his voice as the immature wheel of cheese for Cheez-Its. Please welcome my friend, Matt Griesser. How you doing, buddy?
John, how are you, pal? Wow. This is how the world works now. I just get on my computer and we have a little chat.
It's a new wave, and I can't thank you enough. You know, I've been a big fan of yours since those days, and started back in 1999. I don't mean to age ourselves a little bit, but
we're aging ourselves.
Yeah, and but it was you know, that was when I was really in the core of my game, and when I was really getting into the game of golf and kind of trying to make it a living for myself. But you know, I'll be honest with you, you became, in my mind, a staple in golf when it came to this character. And you know, let's just go back a little bit back. Like, how did you get into acting and comedy, first of all?
I studied acting in college. Not really. You can't do it as a major when your parents are paying a lot of money for you to go to college. You don't say, "Oh, I'm just going to study acting." So I studied TV film production, but also studied acting. And basically, when I graduated, I was in Orange County, California, at Chapman. It's now Chapman University.
Yeah.
This is where I'm aging myself. It was Chapman College when I was there. And a buddy of mine was willing to share rent. We moved up to the LA area, and basically, I was wondering myself, how was I going to get into acting? And I worked on I was a gopher, basically, on a TV show. And Joel Murray, who is Bill Murray's youngest brother, who's a fantastic improviser and actor himself, asked me if I've ever done improv. And I said, no. And he goes, I really haven't. And he goes, well, there's some great teachers out here from Second City in Chicago. They come out here to get ready for the TV series auditions for pilots and everything. So I took a class from this wonderful woman named Jane Morris, who you would know her for many things. She was on Drew Carey show for a long time. She's great. And from that, we had these shows, these class shows, and agents would come to them. And an agent approached me after one of them, and she was a commercial agent, and said, I'd like to represent you if you want to start, you know, doing commercials. And I said, yeah, please, that'd be great. So that's how I got my foot in the door in terms of being an actor. But what you have to do at the time, and it's changed now, and we'll talk more about this later, about how much the business has changed, but you had to have a Screen Actors Guild card. You had a union card, but you couldn't get a union card. You couldn't act unless you had a union card. So it was this catch-22. And basically you had to do some background work as an extra and do some things. And you got vouchers that then allowed you to then submit yourself to get a SAG card. So I got my SAG card back in, okay, we're going way back, in 94. And I actually got a part within a year of getting my card on the show Murphy Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I got my foot in the door with TV. And I thought, yeah, great, I'll do TV. It'll be cool. Maybe do something. And I didn't work for like a year after that. Like nothing was coming together.
When you were studying at Chapman, was comedy the angle you wanted to take, or was it just kind of, I'll take anything when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think
when you're looking as an actor, I would guess that you're like,
I think your attitude is I'll take anything when you're starting out. And then you realize and it's really what you think your own strengths are. So I love doing comedy. I've always thought it's just tough, if not tougher than drama in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very interesting over the years. I would have meetings with different agents, and agents would go, I see you being a drama guy. And I'm like, I don't like that idea. So for me, it was really great to get cast as Sign Boy. FootJoy had two great writers that created the shell of the idea, and then they auditioned I believe both in Los Angeles and New York. And they look at everybody. I mean, everybody that wants to come in, they don't know exactly what they want until they see it. So basically I came in and I was already a golf nut. I mean, I watched all the majors. And another big thing was part of the reason that the campaign was even created was because Tiger had come on tour in 96, 95, 96. And they needed a younger player wearing FootJoy shoes because it was kind of thought as your dad's country club golf shoe. And so they wrote this great idea for a character, and I ended up getting the part.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's three. And I read you had 300 guys audition for this position, and I know that you came into the room and kind of looked at what you were, competing against, and I know that having that golf kind of background and kind of knowledge of what's going on tour, you were like far above. So when you went in, was it kind of like a, hey, I want you to read off the script, and you just kind of ad lib? What
you do is you come in and they give you the what they call the sides or the pages. And I started reading the spots and I went, oh my gosh, DL3, this is David Silva III, Philly Mick, this is Phil Mickelson. There were 12 of us at the time waiting to go in. And I heard other guys' conversations were like, who's DL3? Who's Philly? And I was like, I'm not saying a word. I had a leg up because I love the sport. Absolutely knew these guys were superstars of the game. So I was like, this would be incredible. And a story I don't think I've told much is that at the time I was on hold to do a Nike ad with Michael. The director was Michael Bay, believe it or not. And it was for, I think, Gary Payton's new Nike shoe.
Okay.
And I was playing this crazy talking head in a jar in a laboratory. And I got back from the audition, and when I got a call back, I said to my agent, I know I'm on hold for that Nike thing, but I'd really rather do this. And they called to say, well, we're going to have him back in. And she said, he's waiting to hear on something else that he wants to do. And the casting director lit up my agent. You're crazy. This is Michael Bay. This could lead to so many things. And I was like, no. And I told my agent, I go, if this is a campaign for FootJoy, this could be a big deal. So I definitely committed to the idea that I want to do that. And when I got the part, end of 98, right at the end of 98 and beginning of 99, we were at in Orlando, Florida, shooting the first ads. And I'll never forget, it was raining on and off. We had to work around the weather a little bit. But here I was standing next to David Silva III and Jesper Parnevik and Phil Mickelson. And the guys were great, man. They were all for it. I think for them, not having to hold up a golf ball and say, I play this, and actually do a little acting, they all did a great job. So for me, it was big.
So did the director kind of look at you because of, knowing that you're a comedic actor, and is it a situation where he says, hey, I really want you to stay to script, or is it like, hey, if you get into a point of this I don't know, line or whatever, you want to take it into a funny direction, it's open, or they say, no, I need you to stay to the script?
No, wasn't told that I had to some of the stuff was planned that you needed to do for product talk. So that you had to get in there. But I was very fortunate to work with a brilliant director, Kevin Smith, not the guy that people think of as Kevin Smith, but great commercial director, veteran. And he came up to me and he said, here's the deal. I know that we all cast you because you're very funny as this character. The energy is very funny. He goes, I don't know anything about golf. He said, so if there's something we're doing that you don't think would be true to what a tournament would be like, which was really nice of him to say. So like a couple times I walked on and I said, you need more extras behind that rope to make it look legit. There'd be more people there, whatever. But other than that, he said, I want you to do your thing. And amazingly, we shot 2 script right away because we certainly didn't want to make FootJoy think that we weren't going to do their scripts. And we did them. And then basically Kevin would say to me, he's like, can you do a 30-second spot just riffing? And I said, sure. And you get trained in your mind how long 30 seconds is in your head. And it's really only about 27 seconds for graphics. So they basically said, why don't you jump in with Duvall and just do, and that was a spot where I came up to him and I go, I forget if that was the first one or the second one. I think I came up to him and said, you're looking good. And I used the style number of the FootJoy. Oh, those are 3572s. Those are not, oh man, those are sweet. And just his glasses were perfect because he didn't have to make a move. He didn't have to do anything silly. He just looked at me like, you're nuts, man. What's going on with you? And another time was able to run up to him and I go, what 8? You're hitting an 8? I don't know. I'd go to the 6 or whatever, whatever you want to do. And that's where that started, where they were like trusted me to add to it, riff a lot. And we did improvise a lot. And that was part of it too, was maybe doing script the first take. And then guys, by we got to the second and third season, guys were pretty aware that we were going to do some funny stuff. So second take, we might improvise totally different, see if we get a reaction.
Right.
But every guy, really wanted to be there and was very cool. I even heard a story that one player in his negotiation to re-up with FootJoy, it was part of his deal that he had to be in a Sign Boy ad.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can't confirm, but I'll take it if that's true. Yeah. And I love doing it. I mean, I would have done it for forever. It was just one of those campaigns that.
Surprised it didn't go on forever.
Yeah, I was very surprised myself.
What's that?
I was very surprised myself when it ended.
Yeah. Of all the guys that you kind of, had to deal with acting wise, I know that Jesper's dad was a famous comedian, I think, right? Back in
he's
Sweden.
Swedish, basically the Bob Hope of Sweden.
Right. And who kind of, it was natural for them. Like you could see maybe if he wasn't a golfer, he could be an actor. Like,
oh yeah, no, Jesper's got chops.
Okay.
And he was eager to be able to, he just did his thing. He wasn't over the top. He just knew what he was doing. He felt comfortable in front of the camera. And I think all of them did for the most part. My job was not to, because people would say, oh, that sounds crazy. It wasn't to scare them. It was just that excited about being around the FootJoy guys and their products and what they wear and everything. So that really became the big focus of it. But we got some riffing later on in ads. We did one where VJ sings in the cart with me and I'm driving him around, and we shot this at this might have been like the 5th season, and he had to fly to China. He had a big appearance. He was getting $1 million to go play in China.
Back then.
Yeah.
Back then.
And so back then, correct. Yeah. And so his agent at the last second said, well, I thought I told you guys you can only have him for this amount of time. And they said, no, we need at least 4 or 5 hours. He goes, well, he's on a plane by 10 a.m. Well, we were supposed to shoot this thing that was me driving around the golf cart with him, and we finally pull up at this fast food place.
Yeah.
And to his credit, and guys would do this, if they felt comfortable. I like this. I riffed a line at the end. I get the bag from the girl at the counter like this, and I go, thank you, like this, and I take it and I turn to him. I go, I think she's hitting on me, and he goes, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that made the ad because it was so perfect. He goes, yeah, right, pal. Yeah, that's not happening. But what we had to do was that was shot at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
We had a 4 a.m. call time, and there's VJ ready to go. And we shot, we were shooting, nighttime scene at the crack in the morning. And I tell you, one of the fun things to know when you go back and look at the ads is, since we didn't have VJ for much of the shoot, when I'm driving VJ around, we probably had about 2 hours with him to drive him around in the cart where we had it camera mounted. And that was a lot of fun because the tech guy said, dude, it's mounted. If you want to bounce this cart around, don't worry about it. You can really. So I purposely was finding tree roots and stuff to bounce this off of. And you can see VJ like, oh, okay, dude, not even funny. And we did all that. Well, then they had to have other shots of us driving. So we needed basically a lookalike of VJ. So they went to Central Casting in Atlanta and looked at a bunch of photos and everything. Nobody looked close to VJ, but the doorman at the hotel looked just like VJ, except he was about 1.5 feet shorter. So they made an extra padding, and you'd never see it because it's such a quick take. But I remember driving around with the guy, and he just was so excited to be in a commercial. And VJ gave me shoes, like they said at the end of the thing. The producers come over and go, well, we're going to get you a pair of those in your size. He said, no, I love these. These are mine. I'll take these. Which he's right. VJ wore them, so why not? And couldn't have been nicer. But those are the little things that I love looking back on that we got to do, where the guys are so good at what they do, of being able to make that happen. It looks legit. You would never know unless I paused and showed you what is a side shot of us going by.
Right. Yeah.
And the fact that they even made the padding look legit, like it was still the seat and everything. So much fun. And
Wow.
they all really did get the joke. I mean, it was really fun.
I know you did a lot of them, but what was your favorite one that you like, that stands out?
I still go back to, part of it was the way the day played out, and part of it is the ad itself. My favorite is when Signboy's in the trunk of his Impala, and he's got all the swag.
Right.
And I have to credit the art director and writer, Ron Harper. He spent hours putting little tags on things on the Ziplocs and all stuff. So I had all these props to play with. I couldn't believe how well he did it. And that we actually shot that dude less than 24 hours after Justin Leonard made the putt at Brookline.
Wow.
So we were all in the hotel freaking out, thinking if USA doesn't win, a lot of these guys may not be in the mood to shoot the commercials.
Right. Yeah.
So when Justin drains the putt and everything's coming, like, wow. So Mickelson and Leonard came in together on a private plane, probably, I don't know, middle of the night. And then we're up and going with this by, 9 a.m. And we had an idea. At the end of the day, they had shot everything we needed to shoot. And at the end of the day, one of the writers said, wouldn't it be great if you have, and we went to Justin and we said, because he still had his Ryder Cup bag.
Right.
So we said, what if Signboy has your head cover from Brookline? And he goes, yeah, if you want to use it, sure. So we told him what the bit was. And it was basically that Signboy's talking to the camera. I see Lumpy, you see a broken tee. I see Lumpy smoothing a 7. And Justin comes around the corner and goes, what are you doing, my writer? I was looking for you in the lot. I was like, that's yours, dude. That's a big moment for you. He couldn't have been cooler. Played it really well. And he could have left. He had a plane waiting for him. And he said, no, I'll stay and shoot that. And I'll tell you another nice thing was I'd asked Mickelson if we could get a picture during the day. And they were going to their plane. And I'm walking back towards the clubhouse to change. And Phil's on the phone, but he takes the phone behind his back and goes, Matty, did you want to take a picture? I said, that's all right. And he goes, no, come on. So this is what he says. Hold on, Amy. Puts the phone. So he's talking to his wife, and he was nice enough to grab me to take a picture. I mean, it's hard to explain to people. People have their image of players. Maybe they're a little stuck up or whatever. I don't know if you could do a nicer gesture for me on the set. That was so cool.
I love the one with the airplane. I love the one where and you wedge your way in between the two, and then you got the headset and you're like, beepity bop, bop, boop, bop.
Yeah, I remember that was in. So that is a plane set that was shipped out from LA.
So it wasn't at Air Hollywood?
No, we did it in an open convention center in Houston.
Okay.
Because we have to play to the players' schedules. And coming off of that tournament, we could get Ernie Els the next day for one thing we needed, and then we could ask the other guys to stay. So that is, and what's great about, I'd love to show people how that works. They can pull sections out and push cameras in, and it's incredible. All you do is a little sound effect of the jet, and you feel like you're on a plane. The best part of doing that spot was that I'd gotten to know Tim Aaron Lumpy, and he'd actually come out to LA one time, stayed at my house, and we played golf.
He's a guy's guy. He's great.
Nicest guy in the world. Yeah. So hilarious.
Yeah.
And so he actually played in Tiger's Pro-Am at Sherwood because they do a bigger Pro-Am, and then he wasn't playing in the main one. And he calls me, he goes, I'm going to get a courtesy car out to your house, dude. You just want to hang out or, whatever. So, and he goes, I'm playing in Lakeside tomorrow if you want to play. I've never played it. The guy is just beautiful.
He's America's guest.
He is. He's got that Belushi in him for sure. Yeah. And so he just, when I knew Lumpy was in the spot, I knew I could go further with him physically.
Yeah.
So when I climb in at first, I knew, and don't get me wrong, Duffy was great and he was playing it along, but I think Lumpy knew I was going to have fun with him. So the thing was, and I improvised, I think you're on my seatbelt. And I did that the first take, and I really didn't go too crazy, right? Grabbing the seatbelt, but I'm pantomiming the other seatbelt. And right before maybe the third take, I go, I'm going deep, dude. And he looks at me like, what the hell is that? Just trust me. And you can see in the ad, they had to cut because he starts to laugh because I get it right. He's like, oh, and we laughed so hard after that take. He said, God, come on, dude. That's an invasion of privacy. That's horrible. I said, well, you got to make it work for the camera, pal. and he was a great sport about it. So yeah, airplane's one that I love doing too. Yeah.
Yeah, that got me too. So the character Sign Boy, I'm assuming you don't have the rights to that, or how?
No, the ad agency Arnold Worldwide in Boston created their writers created it, so they have the ownership of it with at that time Acushnet.
Got it.
They have the rights to that. They created a shell of a character. I came in and played it, but they created the idea.
So, question for you: 2022, do you think the PGA Tour or Champions Tour or any tours out there need another character like a Sign Boy? Like, is that something that? Because I tell you, I mean, when you went to commercial and you were on, people stayed. And it was focused. And
yeah,
and I think, and believe, I really think, and believe me, I love comedy, that, but I think the tour needs something like this again. And I don't know if it's the Champions Tour, or I don't know if it's PGA Tour. Obviously, the PGA Tour is exposure is 90,000 times more than the Champions Tour. But
right,
I don't know. I have a feeling that the tour needs somebody like this again.
Well, now correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a very funny guy that does the caddy, who plays the caddy, not in ads necessarily, although he's been used in PGA Tour ads, but he's become a big personality. And that's something that I think plays off of the beginning of Sign Boy and all that. I think that's one thing. I don't know how to answer that, because I was very surprised we stopped doing the spots, because we had so many more storylines, and I don't know why there isn't more comedy in ads all across the board, because Lee Trevino is one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet, and it's great to have him riff about Top Flight or whatever he's doing, but you got to have somebody to play off of, and that's why I think a character in advertising that bounces off the players and shows, I think, was great. We showed their personalities a little bit. Showed their reactions to things, and made them seem like it's not all hush hush, like everybody quiet please. They're real dudes, and this is what they do for a living, and they're just darn good at it. So in terms of what comedy is out there right now, I'm surprised as well. I got to do a show with Peter Jacobson for about 3 years, called Unplugged. And I'm sorry, Plugged In. Oh, I just did it. I owe Peter $50. Oh,
that was my next question: is how is the commercials? Is this how you built the relationship with Peter and started this whole other show? Is that
absolutely? Yeah, Peter. They wrote a spot with Peter that was it was in a hotel, a hallway, and I was had the new Cyflex glove, and it was a bit about that. But here's how amazing it is. We had to shoot exterior stuff. We were in Woodland Hills, California, at the country club there. And they built in the dining room of that club, they built a fake hotel hallway that looked completely legit. So that's where we shot it. And Peter was there. And that's the first time we had met before, but we chatted at length. And we shot our spot. And we did a lot of riffing in that too, and had a great time. And he said, hey, I know where he first said it to me. We were at Billy Mayfair and Brad Faxon's event out in Rhode Island. And Peter and I started talking. He said, you want to walk with me? Come on. So I walked a few holes with him, and he stopped on a tee and said, tee box, and said, hey, I've got an offer to do a show with the Golf Channel. I want to do kind of a variety, funny golf show. Do you want to be my sidekick? And I was like, yes, of course I want to do that.
Right.
So Peter, actually, I still have the tee. It's such a great memento. So he took a long white tee out of his bag with the tip of a Sharpie, very clearly wrote his cell number on it, and said, call me this week, because I want to talk to you about that. So here's how good a guy Peter is. He loves comedy. He loves
Yeah, he is kind of he was the class clown of kind of like the
really he's really one of the last guys, along with Trevino, those guys that interact with the crowd and still go out and play and have a great time. I mean, Lee's still doing it. Peter's not playing right now, but Peter told me one time, I need 5 seconds to hit a good golf shot. I can be, saying hi to somebody or whatever. You give me 5 seconds to line it up and shoot it, I'll do it. And, and his idol and one of his mentor was Arnold Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me so much about the etiquette of a golfer, just watching Palmer. I'll segue. I was at the Masters, and Arnold was coming off the driving range. And this would have been, I think it was his last year when he was there. And he's walking, and they've got the ropes far enough out that the people the patrons can't tackle you, but they were saying hi. And Peter says to me, watch how Arnie handles this. So he comes down the middle, everyone's going out. It's like the Beatles are walking through. And somebody's like, he goes over, and his little girl had a hat. He takes that. Now what he does is he steps back so other people aren't throwing stuff at him, signs that perfect stamp signature.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He talks to the crowd on both sides of the road. Everybody have a good day today. Did you see that birdie on 13? Somebody better see it. Hands it back to the girl, walks another 35 feet, picks somebody out on the left side. He signed 3 autographs in 80 yards of walking, and every person said when he walked away, he looked right at me. They felt like they met him. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Best of luck. That signature alone.
Yeah, I did he flew in on his helicopter, landed on the first tee, did a big thing for the golf course I was working at, Monarch Beach, is right next to the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh, yeah.
He had a big group there, put on a exhibition. I was the guy that was in charge of getting his bag on the tee and then going and getting all the golf balls and all that kind of stuff. And he appreciated that. And he gave me $20. And I always told myself, if I have to break this to take that $20,
yeah,
I got serious issues in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
No, I totally understand
been with
that.
Me since day one. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. I was very lucky to get him. I was very lucky to meet him several times through Peter.
Yeah.
When they were at Bay Hill, Mr. Palmer's condo was the top on a 3-story, and Peter's had the one below, and there was just a little spiral staircase down, and they just leave the sliding door. So we're sitting there like at 8 a.m. having coffee. Here comes the king, walks right in. Hey, sign boy, how are you? We're just like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And just saying hi to everybody, hugging the kids, saying how's everybody doing and all that stuff. It's hard to explain to people that if you haven't been around him, if you haven't felt his presence and you like golf, there's a handful of people in my life that I've met that have an aura that you feel the minute you meet them, and you can't figure out how to describe it. It is just this: you shake hands with them, and there's just this feeling of I'm with a special person right now.
Yeah.
And, that happened for me 100% with Arnie. I've met a couple of actors that I really admire, and same thing. Met Tom Hanks, and couldn't have been nicer. Told him that I wrote a college paper about the movie Splash, and he's like, Splash? How'd you get to write a movie about what? A paper? But he couldn't have been nicer. He walked on the set that morning, and they had all the crafts there, all the food laid out, and you could hear him across the hallway. He goes, waffles? Hey, we got waffles, everybody. I was just like, if that's not Tom Hanks, I don't know who that is. And there's just different people. Even, sadly, a few years ago, Mac Miller, I didn't know this when he passed, but I met him at a party. He's born in Pittsburgh. I was born in Pittsburgh. And he had a P for the Pittsburgh Pirates on his hand.
Right.
And I just pointed to it. And I said, I dig that. And he goes, you like that? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you P? And I go, oh, I'm P. He goes, you straight P? And I go, I'm straight P. Maybe another minute of talking. He was with a group of people. Couldn't have been nicer. But I could feel an aura that this guy was really cared about who he was around, and incredibly nice. And I didn't know this until the day that he passed, was that he lived about a mile away from me in Studio City when I lived in Studio City.
Wow, that's crazy.
So but again, the only reason I bring that up is that I think everybody has somebody they've met, if not more than one, that it is amazing to meet somebody that you realize, man, this person was put on earth to really be a special person. And
I get that feeling. That aura is like when I walk onto a property, golf like Riviera.
Yeah.
Like I feel the history there, right?
Yeah.
I feel the aura there, right? It's just like there's so many great memories of that place, and you can just feel it when you get on that. And that's like, everybody's like, oh, don't you love? Yeah, the golf course is great. I mean, it is from tee to green. It's a special place, but you feel like like, oh my gosh, Hogan was hitting balls here, and Nicklaus and Palmer, and
that's the thing. Yeah,
guys,
when you tee off on 18 up, when you tee off on 18 up the hill, and I'm just hoping to get it up the hill, by the way. But you realize that this is how we play. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you a crazy story about Riv. When I had just done some ads with David Duvall, I went out to Riviera because it was only about 45 minutes from my house, and just said hi to some guys on the range. And then Duvall said, "You want to walk? I'm going to play 9. You want to walk with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So he and his caddy Mitch, and forget who else played with us, but just to stand that close to a pro teeing off on a tee box boggles your mind alone. We get over to 4, which is this long par 3, legendary par 3. Duvall's got a little chaw in like this, and I said, I read that Hogan said this is his favorite par 3 in golf, and Duvall goes, "This hole's pure." And that's all he had to say, because this hole's pure. And
when was the last time you were at a tour event?
It's been several years. Pre-COVID, I think. Pre-COVID, probably 2 years before. Yeah.
And was it just in LA? Like, you just showed up, or did somebody ask you to come out?
One time, director, brilliant actor, improviser, Christopher Guest. He cast me. He's cast me in a couple of things, and he's a big golf fan. And he doesn't live too far from Riviera. And he asked if he had an extra ticket. And so I went with him. He's a big fan of Matt Kuchar and wanted to meet Kuchar. And so I introduced him to Kuchar, and then walked the place with him and all that. And that's probably the last time. It's amazing. And you know this as well as anybody. It's a traveling circus that you can't describe to anybody. The families are close because they're in the exact same hotels every week. They're watching their kids grow up. And what I admire about professional golf more than anything is you're given nothing. You have to make your dough every week. Everybody goes, "Oh, but they're on private jets." And if you're top 20 in the world, you get a deal for that. But the bulk of the guys out there grinding don't have those. And you are, the stories that fascinate me are things that Peter's told me about when he came on tour, end of the 70s. He goes, we stayed in hotels where you had to have quarters to keep the TV going. Because you had to pay for your range balls. I said, "You're kidding me." He goes, "No, there was no courtesy cars. You had to rent a car."
Right.
And he said, "The way it is now is so cush compared to what it was." He says, "I'm not bitter about it, but it is a totally different world."
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of, I don't think there's a lot of guys that would raise their hand and actually admit it, but they know that they can actually just make cuts and make a great living and not worry about having to win.
100%.
100%.
There's so many guys. There's just so many guys that have been out there for 15 years and they don't have a major, but you can make a living if you got to play well 4 rounds.
It is like Kisner came out and said, in a press conference, and he said, they said, why don't you think that you could ever win at a place like Torrey Pines? He goes, "Well, it's really long, and I don't hit it long, and it's really, really hard." And the guy says, "Well, why do you play?" And he goes, "Because they pay a lot for 20th place."
No question. I think the thing that's blown my mind as long as I've been a golf fan, it's only gotten crazier because of the money that's at stake when you get into the end of the, especially, but every week there's huge money. I can't even for a second imagine standing over a 5-footer, and if I make it, I finish second alone, and I take home this wad of money. If I miss it, I'm tied. I split. I mean, the money you're putting for $300,000. One putt.
And $1 million.
I played. I get the only thing I can compare it to was I played golf with Scotty Cameron several times, and Scotty's been an incredible friend, and he's always set me up with some great gear. And his setup at the studio, he's just phenomenal.
It's unbelievable.
And his passion for golf is amazing. So played with him one time, and we were finishing, and we were just doing little side bets or whatever. And I think I was in his pocket for $100 or something. And he goes, and I had about a 10-footer, a little bit uphill, breaking to the right. And he comes over and he goes, double or nothing on the putt. So I'm like, do I have 200 cash on me? So I get over this. And of course, I'm using a Scotty center shaft, make the thing work. It's a Scotty. And I got over it and my arms turned to cement. I felt like my arms had been filled with cement.
I can't pull the trigger.
No. I left it short by 1.5 feet, which you never need to do on an uphill putt. And everybody just laughed. I think Thomas Gibson, the actor Thomas Gibson, was with us. He was just howling. And we go up, we finish around. I go to Scotty and I go, all right, dude, here's $200. Thanks for the learning experience. He goes, no, you keep it. And I go, no, I pay my debts. He goes, no, I just want you in my pocket. I got you.
Yeah, right. When was the last time you were out playing? I know the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. I know you've moved from LA to now Denver, Colorado area.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm up on the Front Range out of Denver by about half an hour, and almost been 2 years now, coming up on 2 years. A lot of the business has changed, and you can do a lot of stuff from a home studio for voiceover. You can audition in front of a green screen at home. So the timing kind of worked out, but it's just social media has changed everything for everybody. But for actors, I was amazed about 6 years ago, I had a manager that said, you're not on social media. And I go, no, I really don't want to do that. And he said, you have to be. And I said, why? And he said, because I have a client who's a great actress. And he told me who it was. I knew, and not a huge name, but somebody, a lot of people would recognize her. She wasn't able to audition for this feature film because she didn't have enough followers on Instagram for them to bring her in.
Unbelievable.
Now that has nothing to do with her ability as an actress. It should absolutely be who's the best prepared for the job. They were and they started in commercials too, hiring people for ads. If a person didn't have enough followers, so I asked Kevin Smith, who I worked with, the director for FootJoy, I asked him about 7 years ago. I said, are you seeing already a trend of social media play? He goes, oh yeah. I said, how so? He goes, car commercial. I'm down to 2 guys. They both come in and nail the final thing. I said, did you get the guy you wanted? He goes, no. The ad agency said the other guy had more followers on Instagram and Facebook, so that guy got the part. He didn't win the audition, but he got the part because he had more followers. That's, to me,
that's wrong.
It's so wrong. It's just wrong.
It's wrong. Yeah.
So it just changed a lot. I don't know what I was talking about before. I like to complain about that social media.
We were seeing if you're getting out and playing golf.
No. Yeah. So I held up the cup because this is Wilshire Golf Club. This
not
is
Wilshire in LA. It's Wilshire.
Yeah, not WI, Wilshire.
Wilshire.
This place was built in, I believe, the 1920s. Donald Ross design. I think at one time it was Denver Country Club.
Okay.
And the history of the place is amazing. Ben Hogan won the Denver Open there in 1940. So like in their little grill room, this is a Muni. And in the grill room, they got all these great photos of Hogan. And you're like, wow.
Oh.
Now, the only bummer is it is a Muni now. They don't have the money to keep it up. You could feel the design that Ross wanted, but it's in no way to specs of what Ross would like.
Right. But
it's a great place. And now that's where I learned how to play golf. When I was 10 years old, born in Pittsburgh, we moved to Denver, and they had a floater range there where you hit floaters into the lake. So you don't know how far you're hitting them or doing whatever, but you just swing in the golf club. So I took lessons there when I was 10, and my mom, there's no cell phones, there's no pagers. She would drop me off at, let's say, 1 PM on a Saturday, and she goes, you need to be back at this exact spot in 2 hours or I'm going to lose it on you. You better be here. Because you think about it, your mom's dropping you off. She doesn't have a way to reach you unless she comes back for you. But I would do 2 hours of just hitting pellets there. And that's how I first learned how to really hit a golf ball. Well, a little instruction. Actually, the biggest instructor I had was my dad gave me Hogan's book.
Nice.
What is it, 5? Forget the name. Yeah, the one with all the incredible illustrations.
For the grips and stuff. Yeah.
And so that's how I started. And I just kind of messed around. But now that I'm back in Colorado, it's only about half an hour from my house. And thankfully, I have a college buddy who's a avid golfer, and he said, well, let's start doing the Muni circuit out here and play these places. So that course, been playing that some. There's some nice courses out where I live as well. I'm serious, I only have about 5 rounds of golf under my belt in the last 2 years.
Well, I mean, the pandemic's been crazy, so
yeah,
I mean,
you just can't. I don't know. You just can't mess around with it.
I
think there was a time when we got further along and people were vaccinated, and you didn't have to worry as much about being paired up with somebody in a cart and and you're outdoors and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, to me, something that you really have to pay attention to. In a tight space. I went to go to take a lift somewhere the other day, and I got in the car and I said to the driver. And it's just personal preference. I'm not judging him at all, but I did not want to sit in a confined space like that in a car if he's not vaccinated. And he got in, he says, no, I'm not vaccinated. And I said, so I'm going to take another ride. And the next guy pulls up and he says, yeah, I'm vaccinated. And he goes, you're telling me the last driver wasn't? He goes, I thought we all had to be vaccinated. And I said, I guess not, dude. So I get it. Some people have their mindset. It's not, but you have to look at what's going on and see for yourself.
We know that you're a big sports fan, so I know you're a big Denver advocate of your Denver team. And not all people, unless you follow Matt on social media.
Yeah, because that's social media. You got to find me.
Because he's a big Formula One guy. How long have you been into the Formula One stuff?
Yeah, my dad
what got you into that?
My dad was a pit marshal for the Sports Car Club of America when I was a kid. So we would be out out here. There's a track in Pueblo, great tracks like Road America back in Wisconsin. So from the time I was, walking, I was basically going to racetracks. And my dad followed all forms of racing, but mostly Formula One and IndyCar. And I would watch all those races and go to races, and I knew who all the drivers were. And Formula One once we started to get better and better coverage here in the States, you really got pulled into it because you really got to watch a full race, see what happened. Before it was an update on CBS Sports, what happened or whatever. But it's people that aren't fans don't know what a global sport it is.
Oh, it's gigantic.
It's just huge. And Michael Schumacher, who sadly, no one knows his condition from that fall he took. But he said his favorite place to be for Christmas was take his family to New York because no one recognized him.
Yeah.
They would stay anywhere they wanted and go to any restaurants they wanted. No one would bother them.
There's been shocking.
Some
great documentaries on Netflix on some Formula One stuff that I've watched.
New one on Schumacher's really good.
Yeah. And then there's that series, and it's insane. It's actually got me into it a little bit to watch. I mean, I don't have a particular driver that I follow. I don't know. Do you? I would assume you have a team.
I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan.
Okay, got it.
Just because I think not only is he an amazing driver, and I think hopefully this upcoming season he'll break the record with 8 titles.
Yeah.
But he really uses his fame, global fame, for a lot of good causes. And but saying that, the reason I say that is he's so focused and such an amazing driver. Nothing deters him from being that good in the car. He also does this other stuff that he feels is important in his life too. So that's very cool in terms of what the world's that different. That wasn't the format that Michael Schumacher could use. Maybe later in his career, but I like Hamilton mainly because self-made, father, and it's a typical story for a lot of drivers.
Yeah.
Father mortgaged everything to keep him racing. Was even his manager for a long time, even when he started in F1, and then the deals got so big that I guess Lewis just had to say to his dad, I got to go with a big shop here.
And dominant too. I mean, dominant.
The lifestyle is unbelievable. I mean, they're literally traveling the globe, racing wheel to wheel at over 200 miles an hour, and doing that in crazy hot conditions where they're, I don't know. I always have a problem when someone says Formula One driver's an athlete. I go, dude, they will. Their heart rate is at like 165 for 2 hours. It's like no joke.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that part of it. Plus, if you ever drive a go-kart, you realize they're sitting very close to the ground in those cars. In a go-kart, you're doing 30, 40 miles an hour. That feels like 100 in a a car.
Yeah.
But then imagine doing that and doing 200. I can't even, terrifying.
Well, Bud, I'm a big advocate for you. I mean, I don't know how we're going to get you hopefully back off, but I hope we do one day. Where is it that somebody can find you? Like if they need to send some information your way to possibly get something going?
You can certainly message me on Instagram. It's just at Matt Griesser, and you got to be able to spell Griesser, which is Griesser. So Matt Griesser, one word. And if you want to message me directly on that, that's fine. That's probably the easiest way. That's really the only format that I use a lot of. And the only reason I like it more than anything else is I can have a little humor with it. I can put something up, a photo or video, and put up a funny caption about it. I am on the other formats, but I just really don't use them that much.
Yeah.
So Instagram's where you can find me.
And he's a great follow, people. I follow him, and he's pretty active on it, so it's a good follow. Well, buddy, hey, I can't thank you enough for coming on and starting my year off with this great interview, and it's good to see your face. And hopefully down the road we find you something, because we need you back in golf, that's for sure.
Well, God love you, John. Thanks so much for having me on, man. I enjoy watching your podcast, and it's nice to be on it to start the year, and excited about the new year. Hope everybody has a healthy, happy new year, and we all continue to get better here as we go along with this situation we have with the virus. And really appreciate you thinking of me having this show. Thanks.
You got it, buddy. All right, everybody, that's our show, and we'll see you in the fairway. Cheers.